This episode is brought to you by Excel Coaching Academy. Hey guys, I'm really excited to let you know that I started a mindset coaching business. So what I want to do with this business is I want to help entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople, leaders, and fitness enthusiasts or athletes develop the right mindset to increase revenue, improve business or performance, and overcome the challenges needed to become the best version of themselves. You can get more information about this by emailing info@excelcoaching.academy. Good experience with it so far. But it's interesting though, because like I think the whole concept of like virtual podcasting is interesting, because you said where are you located again?
Johannesburg, South Africa.
Yeah. And then so I'm on the East Coast of the US and we're having this conversation. It's just, I don't know, it's just amazing. But yeah, I know we're going to get into some great stuff. So if you want to introduce yourself and just kind of say who you are and preface the conversation, anything you want to share, and we'll dive in.
Great. Well, thanks, Cody. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for having me. Milan Milosevic here, Joburg, South Africa, co-founder of Riches and Beyond, founder of Millionaire Speakers program. So what I do, I train politicians, executives, CEOs, entrepreneurs to become better leaders, to connect with their own story, and to build a business to 7 and 8 figures like I did. Several businesses like Riches and Beyond is the largest property investors network in South Africa, more than 50,000 students, mentors. And we help them raise, through the property education, more than $50 million, if I convert that way. I'm also a best-selling author, wrote 9 books, one of them endorsed by Tony Robbins, Cracking the Rich Code. It's been an amazing journey. 2005, couldn't even speak English, college dropout, left my country, Serbia, went overseas, ended up working a cruise ship for 10 years, got married to an African lady, and that's how I ended up here in South Africa and started investing in property and learning from all these great people. And hopefully today we're going to inspire many others around the world to do some crucial steps to become better and more successful and happier through the journey, right?
Yeah, man. So first of all, there's a lot there. You're doing a lot. So I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So you work with leaders to become better leaders. You help those people. And you said your main industry is real estate, or your main sort of.
Yeah. So I started with property education, real estate, right? So I'm a property investor as well, a developer also. And then we build a program that teaches people how to invest in property, real estate, even if they don't have any money with the bad credit. So a lot of regular people went through the journey, more than 50,000 people. That's the main program that I started with. And then somebody says, Milan, why don't you teach others? Because I've done 1,000 live events locally, internationally. So why don't you teach others how to become better speakers? Because I learned from Les Brown, Lisa Nichols, Robert Kiyosaki. I share the stage with many of them as well. And that's how I developed a program called Millionaire Speakers, where people come to me and say, Milan, I'm a big shot, but people don't know who I am. I want to connect with my story. I want to inspire more people. How do I do that? So I help them with the story. And through that journey, by sharing this story, they also build a business to 7 and 8 figures. Because essentially, if you want to connect with you on a personal level to find out who you are, what are your values, what do you stand for before they go into business with you. So that's where I come in as a crossover from, I know you, but I don't know much about you. Okay, let's find out who you are. What is your story, your journey of a struggle? And then we build a business around it. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm curious on the leadership part. What do you think it is that makes the best leaders the best leaders? Like, what is it? What is it that makes them, good leader? What is it that makes a good leader?
I think based on my experience, the best leaders are the ones who can lead themselves first, right? Who have the strong mindset, who have it looks like they have it all figured out. Because how are you going to become a leader if you cannot lead yourself? If you're struggling, if you don't go to the gym, if you're not following those simple patterns that you're teaching others. Like some of the greatest mentors that I have, right? They have to be stronger in a way, perceived value in your mind, like better than you, right? So that you can learn from them. Same thing with leaders, right? Get a lot of leaders that like to talk a lot, but there's not much action. So why would I follow you? If you're not standing your ground, if you're not strong, like I want a leader to be strong, to put the foot down when it's needed, to stand in their values. And that's what I do, right? So once you identify who you are, as a leader, as a person, you have to lead yourself first, and that's your story. That becomes your journey, and you attract the right people, right followers, right? Some people won't like it, but the ones who will, you're not doing it for the ones who are haters, is for the ones who really connect with you personally, because they want
Mm,
more of you, right? They want
right.
you to show them how it's done, right?
So I was talking to Dr. Ty yesterday, Jessica Ty, and we were talking about leadership, and I mentioned this to her. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. So I understand what you're saying, and I think the way I say something maybe similar to that is like a leader that leads from the front lines, like with their person, like a leader that's not afraid to get into the operation. Because I think a lot, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, like these big, giant companies that have thousands of employees or whatever, it's very difficult for, the CEO or the C-suite to actually get into the entry level operations. And I think that's where a lot of the disconnect happens. You don't really, like with these giant companies, a lot of people don't feel connected to their leadership, like to the C-suite leadership. And I don't know if the executive portion is where you focus kind of your work, or if you work with the mid-level people, or maybe both. But what do you think about that, man? Just like the leaders, and I know they're busy, they can't be everywhere at once, but just like when they get a chance to be out there on the front lines, like, you hear about Elon Musk, like being on the factory floor of Tesla and that kind of stuff. What do you think about that? That's got to be a powerful thing, I would think.
Yeah, I like that, because how do you? Nobody will run your business better than you. Nobody's going to be more
Mm,
passionate about your business than you. But how do you transfer that passion onto your employees? Because they are essentially employees. They're working for you. So once they understand that your passion, your values, your goals and dreams, why you're doing this for, and how they're going to know that if you're not there between them? Like, I like to go down. I mean, I run several businesses, 7 and 8 figures, and I always connected with people on the personal level. I want to find out who they are, what they stand for, why are they working for me, right? So what they want to be 2-3 years from now to help them somehow. And you got to be that role model, right? So I mean, if you remember back in the days, like centuries, you have the king who goes first, like, hey, I'm leading my army, right? You follow me. Like, what if I just stand there at the back, like, you guys go there and fight for me? Like, why? So you have to
right.
show them how it's done first. And once they get it, that passion and values, why did you start it? Then, okay, now we get it. Now we're part of something bigger and greater. So employees
Mm,
should never be seen as, oh, you're just a little fish in a big ocean. It's like you're part of something greater, and your contribution to that bigger goal and cause means a lot, even though you're just a little person that there in that little department. So I think the greatest leaders showing how it's done first, and they have to build themselves from the grounds up. Like, I have to go through all these different departments to understand how my IT team is working, operations, human resources, because then you know that their mentality, how they think, how they act, you'll be able to identify the problems, and maybe you are there to give them an advice how to solve it. Because essentially, somebody says, I think Gary Vee would say it, you know what, you're not working for me, I'm working for you. And if
mm,
you're a great person, why wouldn't I nurture you and keep you for a long time in my company? Because you're making sales, you're nurturing our clients. Like, I want you to be happy. I want to promote you more, right? It's not about me, I'm making more money and you're just working for salary. How can we all grow and have the lifestyle through this vehicle, which is the company at the end of the day?
so these leaders that you work with, are any of them entrepreneurs, or are they just this? Are they so that you do work with entrepreneurs? I think
Yeah.
um I think a big problem for entrepreneurs is they have a problem, not necessarily a problem, but it's difficult for them to share and inspire their vision to their team. Because entrepreneurs are just so vision oriented, and they see things that other people don't. They create something that's not there, and so they're already creative by default. But in my experience, it's been that entrepreneurs, it's really difficult for them to take their vision and share it and inspire the team to have that same vision. What do you think is the block there? Do you think that it's just that entrepreneurs are so hyper fixated on the vision, or maybe they don't know leadership, they don't know how to inspire the team? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts there.
Right. So, I mean, it's the experience at the end of the day, right? So, I get a lot of entrepreneurs running different businesses, CEOs say, Milan, I'm running this multi-million-dollar company, but I'm not happy. So, why are you not happy? It seems like you have it all. Well, I'm not connecting with my staff, and my wife at home is not kind of treating me well. So, what's missing? Then we sit down and identify what's missing. And fortunately, in a way, if you look at it that way, I had to go through different struggle in my life to understand what they're going through so that I can guide them as a coach what's missing, right? So maybe you don't have that resilience. Maybe you're not strong enough to handle with the loss. If you have to fire thousands of people like happened with Amazon or Tesla, but how do you handle that without even thinking about their families, right? So how do we become much stronger, resilient leader at the end of the day? Because you're on the top. So then we sit down and say, okay, what's missing? How do you become a better version of yourself? I mean, leaders are different. Entrepreneurs have their own visions. We all want to start our own business, make it a multi-million, billion dollars, right? But what needs to happen to get there? Who do you need to become? That's the process. So that's where I come in, right? So if you need to become much stronger, more resilient, much braver, taking more risks, how do we create that persona of you as a leader who's able to take multi-million dollar risks, right? So one thing is about the vision and an idea, right? But to take it to the next level, do you have personal skills? Do you have social skills? You want to partner with a venture capitalist, right? Do you have what it takes? Is your business big enough to offer them what they're looking for, or is it just an idea that you're passionate about, don't want to share with anyone? So it's having a different point of view, right? I mean, I have a mentor, my mentors have mentors, and it's good to have someone to show you maybe a different way of thinking and doing so that you can go to your next level as an entrepreneur, whatever that level is that you think that might be the next level for you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because I think sometimes I mean, a different perspective is very empowering. You know, it's very powerful. But like you said, have you worked on yourself? Do we have the humility enough to have somebody come in and say, hey, you know, you might be able to do this better? I don't know, man. I think you talk about working on yourself and being authentic as a leader and kind of being, I would say, even vulnerable, even, you know, letting your team know that you're not perfect. You're not going to be perfect, but stepping up and taking accountability for those mistakes that you make, which we all do. But I think that humility and self-awareness is something that's really, the power of that is kind of understated. We don't understand the importance of that and how far that can go, you know. And I say all the time, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but it's like an entrepreneur or a business owner or somebody who's going to be successful in that, one thing they have to be able to do is adapt. You know, especially like if you think about it right now, man, just think about since like the last 4 years since COVID. You know, everything has changed so quickly. I mean, some businesses have went all virtual, some businesses have went hybrid, and now there's part virtual, part in person, and things are changing so quickly. And I don't know, I'm sure you know the Blockbuster story. You know, they went out of business because they stopped renting the movies, and had they just changed and got into like what Netflix was trying to do, they might still be in business. You know, I don't know, but I just feel like that adaptation, the ability to adapt to the market or your circumstances or whatever it is, while staying dedicated to the vision. I don't know. That's almost like a talent. I mean,
You know, you touched on something powerful. I always look back like 20 years ago before internet, right? So we had about top 150 companies in the world. They're non-existent today. Like, why? What happened? How come they couldn't reach the next level? They just didn't want to innovate, right? So
right.
so you as a leader, but you can never be one-dimensional. So fortunately, I have different business partners. Like I might be a bit more analytical and creative. Then you have other business partners who are taking a bit more action, who are a bit more social people, like who are networking. It's like it's all about you can build a business, but then how do we maintain the same business for different market conditions through COVID? You know, when the market is going down, when the economy is going down, how do we thrive? So fortunately, again, I got myself into that mindset. We always working on something new, something better. And that's how I started this journey as well. Let's take an existing business model and make it better, right? Add our own flair, add our own value. And that's how, you know, I took this existing business model of Robert Kiyosaki, turned it into our own brand, Riches and Beyond. And all of a sudden it was much better, more vibrant, better energy, simple model. But we were willing to innovate. Oh, this is a bit old fashioned model. Let's bring some more design, younger people, young energy, different marketing. And it works. So with all our businesses, we have the same approach. At the end is the leadership issue, right? So one of my friends would say that, and which means, are you willing to change? Are you willing to adapt? Or are you so stubborn that it's your way or no way? Which sometimes works fine, but hey, if it's the age of the internet and social media, why are we not there when most people are? So sometimes, again, you do need to have someone to shake you a bit to say, look, why don't we explore and see? And then you see it for yourself, make a decision. I like to make decisions based on the data, based on trials, right? But how would you know if you never try? A lot of people already know, like, this is not for me, it's never going to work. But how do you know if you don't try? So we have to try it and make rational decisions. This is working, I like it. At the end of the day, is that vision. Where do you see your company 5, 10 years from now? Do you want to be international? Do you want to just be in this small little bubble where are you right now? Because if you got to go international, we got to think differently all for them, because it's a whole different market, right? Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think I don't know. I know that, like, I think of some of the business owners I've worked with, and I've had this mentality before, and it's just like it's hard to. Sometimes it's hard to make the changes that you need to, because you're the one that's taking all the risk. You're the entrepreneur, so it's your name's on the line and all this kind of stuff. And I feel like maybe other entrepreneurs feel this way, but I personally feel like, okay, if I try this thing and fail because of me, well, that might suck, but maybe I'm okay with that. But if I try it and fail because somebody else told me to do something and I listen to them, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about that. But at the same time, it's like a balance of, like you said, innovating, bringing these new thoughts in, these new ideas in, because I think innovation is absolutely critical, for a company to grow. Because I mean, I don't know if it was Tony Robbins or who said it. One of those guys said, if you're not growing, you're dying. If your company's not growing, it's dying. If it's not improving, you're just slowly dying.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same like a person, right? You can get that job, work for someone, you have enough money, you have the car, and you can go travel once a year, and woman that loves you, place to stay, and you're like, you don't feel need to grow. So you like to talk about it, you like the idea, but never going to do anything. That's why a lot of people just talk about it, but never going to do anything. They had just enough. But entrepreneurs, we had to be hungry. We had to struggle at some point to create that hunger and need and desire to do something greater. And over time, constantly thinking and doing it becomes a habit, right? So we become innovators. We become those brave ones, like Steve Jobs would say, right? So the ones who are willing to take a risk. And even if you fail, but at least you're doing something, right? You try something different that might work great. But I know one thing, if you don't do anything, nothing will be different. But I like to do my trials based on the data. Okay, is there anybody who's doing something exciting that we can kind of copy the model and then apply in our case, but better? Let's find that person, right? Who's doing online webinars? I mean, when COVID happened, I used to do live events before that, right? Live events, we were killing it, like millions per year, like in sales and stuff, coaching, mentorship. But then COVID happened, everybody in lockdown, like, what do? We have to go online, but we don't know anything online. So we called Lisa Nichols and her team to train my team. How do we do webinars? How do we close online? Whole different story. But again, we were willing, otherwise our business will be gone. So willingness in using the existing model that's working, that's been proven, that's been there in your face, and maybe we can copy it, right? And see how we can do potentially better, if not the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people trying to reinvent the wheel, trying to and you said it the best, because it's like there's the information is out there, and with social media and podcast and YouTube and everything, like it's there if you want to know, it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point. I think a lot of that stuff can be applied to different industries, like pick something that works and try to model it. So what do you think because I've asked you about this before, and I wanted to get into this with you. This might be a good place to do that. This purpose and this vision, this drive. I want to ask you about your purpose, because you're doing a lot of things, and I want to know where you get that inspiration from. But what do you think it is with, like, entrepreneurs, like these people who are trying to create something in the world, an entrepreneur or a high level executive, a business owner, a leader? What is it that's really the good ones? What is it that's driving them? Like, what is it that really sets them apart from the ones that's maybe, not doing as well or not achieving as much?
It's having a clear vision. What do you really want? I started with being broke, struggling, and then my fear of being broke pushed me through life. You know what? I don't want to be broke. So it's always about, how can I make more money? How can I make more money? What's that next position, bigger level? And then when you make more money, then you realize it's not even about money.
Mm.
Who is really Milan? What do I really want? How do I contribute to humanity? Can I change more lives? Why would I even change those lives, right? Why does this matter to me, right? So if I can make more money, I can get my family all sorted, but I can potentially get some other families sorted, friends and families. And then when you realize, oh, actually, I did that. Maybe I can do this for the rest of the world. And then when you see smile on the face of that little kid who's got all of a sudden food on the table because they learned from you and your program and now they have their own business, this was satisfied. This was worth it. It's not even about the money at some point. Started with that, but then in that process, you build a habit of doing something different, doing something
Mm.
greater because you can. And taking risk is about, hey, let's see how far I can go. Let's see how many more businesses I can build, how many more lives I can change. What do I need? I mean, like Elon Musk, he was saying, he was sleeping there on the floor in Tesla, right? You just need a place to stay, essentially. But why would you say these bigger leaders, like, why does he want to go to Mars and build all this stuff? Because something greater. What if I can save the humanity one day if Earth explodes, whatever happened, we have a place. So it's a greater cause, right? Over time becomes a vision so clear, embedded in your core that you like, don't think about anything else. You wake up in the morning, you fired up, I have 2 kids. I want them to have better lives, but I don't want them to work for anyone else. I want to teach them everything I know so that they can change more lives, because that's how we transform, right? We teach others to become independent, self-sustainable, so they can build their own lives the way they want it, building that freedom. Money will come, but it's all about having that higher cause, that you have to build that habit of thinking differently, acting differently, becomes a part of you. Right. But then again, if I never experienced that struggle, if I never been hungry, broke, I would never feel need to do anything. And the more you go through that journey, right, the more you realize, hey, I'm actually more productive when I'm struggling, when I'm like uncomfortable, and bring that pain, bring that suffer so that I can create something new and more. Then you embrace the failure. You embrace that. Somebody says it's a great video. You embrace the suck, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not good, but it makes you a better person over time, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that, man. I think that connection to something bigger than yourself is extremely important because
Mhm.
like you're gonna on your journey of entrepreneurship or owning a business or being a leader, you're gonna meet challenges. It's gonna be difficult at times. You're gonna have highs and lows, and that goes with highs and lows in motivation, highs and lows in finance, highs and lows in everything. And it's like that connection to that thing that's bigger than you, that higher purpose, that higher vision. I feel like that's one of the things that really helps me that push forward is staying connected to that. Like you said, is so like you're doing this for something that's much bigger than yourself. At a
Mm.
certain point, it's not really about the revenue or the income or whatever, but you're connected to all these people. You have family and friends, and they have family and friends, and then you're doing that for I don't know how else to say it other than for something that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's an extremely people talk about motivation, which I'm careful with the word motivation because I don't think we should rely on that. But if you're talking about a motivating factor, being connected to something, a purpose that's much higher than yourself, I think that's really going to
Mm.
take you far on your journey.
Right. I mean, you can be motivated, but then motivation fades away, right? So how do you wake up every day excited, fired up about what this day is going to bring? Got to be something deeper than that, right? So, but you have to create that habit of thinking deeper, acting deeper, and really having that goal at the end of the day, right? It's the mindset after all, right? I mean, I follow these great guys like David Goggins would say, like, when you're all alone at the gym, motivation is like it's just you and your pain. What do? You go through
Mhm.
pain, you go through struggle. Business will go down. You have to fire some people. Do you have enough mindset to handle that pain? And that's what the business is, right? So ups and downs. Through downs, you're learning how not to do things. When you're up, it's easy to be happy when everything is fine. But through obstacles, you're learning, growing, becoming better, finding different ways. And all of a sudden, 1 year later, wow, our business have changed in so many ways because there were so many obstacles. It's good that it
Mhm.
changed. Now it's probably better because we were able to overcome that, right? So finding that deeper cause and reason, staying on the path long enough through obstacles. Most people don't know. Most people break. I mean, a lot of us men would, commit suicide because, you don't have anyone to talk to. It's pressure, the bills and your wife and kids, what I'm going to do. And I always ask the same question. What's the worst thing can happen? Let's say you lose everything. You don't have a place to stay, right? Do you have any friends or someone that you can go to? Probably you can, right? Even if you kids don't go to school, you can teach them something. Let them skip that 1 year. But during that time, you go back. We like to say women, when they break up, they find another man. But men, when we broken, we find ourselves. We go to the gym. We go into our own corner. We think differently. We act differently. And we rise up much stronger, more resilient with new ideas and power. That's what all this about. If I can say something to someone, train your mindset because life won't be easy. And in those difficult moments, you have to learn how to be strong and go through it because it won't be too long before you rise up again. Yeah.
Man, I think pain can be an incredible motivator for men. Whether it's a breakup or you lose a job or you lose a business or whatever, lose a family member. Pain is an incredible motivator for men. I think the trick there is learning how to harness that and use it in a positive direction because it can go one of two ways. You can make something good out of it, or you can absolutely destroy everything around you, including yourself. With it. But I think, if you talk to people who have had an addiction, who have come out of an addiction, a lot of times they will tell you one thing first of all, one thing that helped them get out of that was a connection to something higher than themselves. And then people also say in that space, some people say, that one thing that got them there was a lack of purpose, a lack of this higher purpose. And especially, I can't speak for women, but in my experience, it's been men who's mostly said this, a lack of that purpose sort of drove them to this thing that really ultimately consumed them, and they had to, fight their way out of it. But I don't know. I think you're onto something there because I think purpose, especially for a man, I know for everybody, we as human beings, we're driven creatures, but like for men, purpose is probably the most important thing. That's that higher sense of purpose. And it might not be a business. It might be a family. It might be something you're trying to create, whatever it is. But I think we as men, it's healthy for us to have that vision, to have that pursuit of that thing.
I always like to say, if you're going to do something, do it 100%. Give yourself all you got in that moment. I'm a dad. I don't want to be just a sloppy dad who's never around. I'm spending time with my kids. Those moments will count one day. Let's go to picnics. Phones are off. Let's spend those moments. I got to be the best dad that I can be, right? If I'm a businessman or a leader, got to be the best leader that I can be. There's no room for shyness, being introverted. You got to be the best that you can be. What's the point, right? That's where your purpose needs to come out. And if you don't have that developed, you got to work on yourself to become best version of yourself that you can be better. You can always be better, right? You should never go back and slack. Because what choice do we have, right? We can go through life just living it, talking about it, or, hey, let me give my best shot. Let me take the risk. Let me develop this idea I had in my mind for the last 10 years, and let's see what's going to come out. At least I'm doing something. Other people just talk about it. And us men will find that purpose, right? When you're stuck, you don't want to, just follow your emotions and, I need a pleasure. Let me buy that chocolate. Hey, I have a purpose. I want to lose weight for the next 30 days. Hey, you know what? I want to build that role model to my kid. What kind of role model am I going to be if I'm overweight and lazy? What am I teaching my kids? That is okay? No, what's the best version of yourself that you can be and work on it. Is it worth it? You decide, right? It will be pain. It will be suffering, but at the end, when you rise up, you're stronger than ever. You got what it takes. You can conquer the world, literally. I mean, nobody's perfect, but it's the work in progress. But you can be better than you were yesterday, and that's what matters. We're competing with ourselves from yesterday, not with anybody else. How do I become better, stronger, wealthier, healthier, happier? What needs to happen? Something needs to happen differently if you're not happy and wealthy. Where are you right now? So purpose comes, and you'll recognize it at some point, and becomes a powerful journey when you realize that. When you wake up one day and realize, you know what? I don't have what it takes to be average. I found this and I love doing it. Maybe I can do this for the rest of my life. Then I'm never going to work for anyone else. I don't even have to do it if I don't get paid, right? Who cares? I'm still love doing it. It's my purpose. Let's see how many more lives we can change, right?
You mentioned something there that I want to kind of zero in on, which was trying your best. And I honestly think, man, that if you try your best at a thing, there's no way that you can fail. Because even if you try the business or you try the thing and the business fails or the career fails, if you brought your best, if you became your best through that process, that's the success for you. Because you can
Mm,
take that best self and you can apply it to another business or another experience. But if you first of all, I don't think successful entrepreneurship, it's not something that you can just do 50%. If you're going to do it and be successful at it, you have to do it 100%.
yeah.
But I honestly think that if you give your best self, if you try your best in that process and you become a better person through that process, even if you don't get to where the thing doesn't get to where you thought it was going to get to, you still became that person in the process. And I think that's just
Mm.
like, you can't put a value on that.
Mm. It's who you become in the process, right? That's what's more important. And we can say, a friend of mine actually said to me a while ago, have you ever tried something and you give your best? Have you ever failed? And I look back and said, no. Well, because
Yeah.
you give your best, but you give your best. But have you ever tried something and you didn't do everything that you could and you failed? It happens because you didn't do everything that you could. So when you face yourself and say, I tried everything, literally everything. Is there anything else I can do? No, well, maybe it's not meant to happen. Right. But if you do everything, you'll find a way eventually to make it work through that process, through that journey, because you know your business better than anyone else, right? You know it inside out. You know what needs to happen to become successful, to make millions, right? You know it. Go backwards. Which steps I need to take? How much more I have to do? Do I need to call 100 people a day, 200, right? To close one more to pay my rent for my kids and family? So be it. But that's the thing. Are you willing to do that? A lot of people are not willing. They say they give their best, but they're not willing. They think they have, but they have not. You know, sometimes they don't even know. And people perish because of lack of knowledge. Somebody said yesterday, right? Said it was in the Bible, right? You learn, apply, and do more of that. If it's working, do more. If you can sell to one person, you can sell to a million. But are you giving your best? Are you showing up your best every single day, or you slacking? Or you 50%? Well, if you show up 50%, you're going to get 50% results. And then stop complaining is not someone else, it's you. So what are you doing with your life? Right? Are you strong enough? Are you too tired? Well, get some energy or something. Are you weak? Go to the gym. There's always excuse, but there's always a reason. Excuses are there to pull you down, but if you find a reason, this is why I want to do this. I'm doing this for my family. I have to pay that rent, otherwise we're out this month, right? So I need to make it happen. That means I have to become better, stronger, more resilient. There's not a way, but that's what that purpose is we spoke about, right? When you have that reason, why am I doing this for, then becomes a journey, and journey becomes a habit, and habit becomes your life. That becomes who you are. People say, hey, Milan, how come you all fired up? Because I have my purpose. I have my journey. I've become who I wanted to become. Because I have my reasons that ended up being embedded in who I am. There's no way it's going to change. I'm not the same person like 20 years ago who was just partying and here and there. Like, I become someone much stronger because I wanted to become that leader, someone who wants to be better, stronger, right? One day we're going to become billionaires, both of us, right? We have to become better, stronger, build different network, but it's not going to happen with the same people that we are today. So it's a journey in progress. It's growth, right?
For sure. I wanted to ask you about real estate, and I know we're touching on this resilience and being better and trying to finding your purpose, pursuing your purpose, and that kind of thing. Um, and one thing that I've noticed about real estate is most people who get into real estate, they stay in like it's first of all, real estate is kind of intimidating because it seems like it takes a lot of money to get into it. And I know you said you have a program that kind of teaches how to get around that, but
Mm.
so you need all this money to get in, or at least that's how it seems. And then like most people who get into it, they stay like they only have like one or two properties, single family properties, and they just kind of stay there. Like most people don't get to the place where they have multi-level or multi-family places and they're making all this money. So if when a person gets into it, because I feel like, from the outside looking in, I don't know, I feel like getting your first property would probably be the hardest. So why do these people kind of stay with just one or two or maybe three at the most properties and they don't grow their real estate business? What do you think it is that stops them from growing that?
Mm. I've been in property for the last 19 years now, and I started the same way. Let's go to the bank, apply for the bond mortgage, And we buy that property and we waited for 8 years to sell it. Couldn't even sell it later on. Market went down. So, and then I realized, gotta be a better way. So let me learn from right people. And Robert Kiyosaki came along and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. People know about that. And then I realized that there's so many other strategies and ways of funding that I don't have to just rely on the bank. So it's all about the knowledge. How much do you know about it? And your knowledge will take you to the level of your life that you might be today, right? So are you happy? Keep doing it. If you're not, maybe it's time to rethink your strategy. So what I realized is the more I know, the more I can do, the more you learn, the more you earn in a way. So how do I become better in real estate if I don't have any money, if I'm very limited? So I realized, if I can find investors, if I can build a network, if I can partner up with such people, I can have multiple deals. Because people go into joint venture partnerships, they form a company, and we can buy together that property and share the profit. So if I can do one joint venture partnership, I can do 5, 6, 7. And that's exactly what I started doing. I started bringing opportunities, deals to someone who had money, build my network, and we started splitting the profit. And then from that profit, I started doing my own deals, right? Okay, so now I have properties. And then I realized if I buy them at the auctions, they're a bit below market value. So my numbers make more sense. I can rent them out. Rental covers my bond, my mortgage, and I'm making profit from day one. So it's cash flowing. So how come people don't know this? Because they don't teach you that in school. Most likely they learn from their friends and family, and their friends and family just go to the bank and buy, right? Buy in that area. Wait for 10 years, you're going to make money. Well, what if you lose your job? 3 million people in South Africa, for example, lost their jobs during pandemic. They lost their properties. They couldn't afford them anymore. But my students and myself, we were thriving because our properties were cash flowing, paying for itself. So what's the difference here? I knew something better, something more meaningful, and something that brought me more profit, right? So if there's 15 strategies of property investing, why not learn these strategies? And then you decide which one is better for you, right? For example, we have students who've done 7 deals in 6 months. They did 7 multiple joint venture partnerships. We have people who are subletting Airbnb, rent to rent, right? So Airbnb is everywhere. You partner with the host. Let's partner up. I'll pay you, but I'll sublet your property for someone else for the profit. We have people who have 20 properties like that, using someone else's properties, making money, and nobody asks them what's your credit score. So you don't even have to go to the bank. And then the question really is, which strategy is the best for you? Why would you just buy 1 or 2 properties and wait for 20 years to pay that off when you can buy property today at the auction, make profit right away? You can flip property. You can partner with someone, build your network, and your network will grow. And then you realize that there is a faster, safer, better way of investing instead of just being by yourself and waiting for the banks. Again, is the knowledge, being open to learning. And I didn't know any of the stuff probably 15 years ago. I was stuck, but I was willing to learn. Right? Hey, let's go and learn from this mentor, from that one. They're doing it better. Let's copy it. Is it possible we can do it here in South Africa? Yes, you can do it anywhere around the world. And all of a sudden you see success. And then people ask you, right, how did you do it? Well, I learned something different and it was making sense to me, and let's do it more. And then eventually that's how we build our company. So we teach other people how to do the same thing. And it's been proven to work. So we have our own show as well, just to mention the Property Game Show on the home channel, where our students sharing the stories and strategies, and it's been proven. We have students from around the world, even in America, actually. So it's the knowledge after all, and willingness to learn and grow through that process.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. So I had a real estate license at one point, but I never really got and I know a real estate agent is a completely different side of the scale than investing. But I know that a lot of people know that like real estate creates a lot of millionaires, like a lot of people get rich off of real estate, but I know it's an intimidating thing too, because people, like I said, people don't know the information. They're intimidated by it. Another thing too is, and I know buying a house as a family is a big thing, but it's like people don't understand if you're buying a house for yourself, for your family, what kind of cost that is. You said you've read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. They broke it up to a liability or an asset, and people, it's not. I'm not making fun of these people, but people who don't understand that a house is a liability, you're never going to get that message across to them. If you buy it for yourself. But I mean, you had the 30-year mortgage and all that, and I understand all that, and it's there for your family. It's a big achievement. I understand all that, but I think it's just two different mindsets. It's just two different mindsets about it. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So you mentioned that. Let me see, where was I going to go next with this? The I wanted to ask you about, because you're doing all these things, man. You got all these things going on. I wanted to ask you one thing about your time management and then your stress management, because I'm sure you have you have had to figure out ways to manage both.
Yeah, being a dad of two then becomes a bit of extra pressure, right? So I learn and I operate by the schedule, and it works great. And I would advise anyone to schedule the day and to block that time when it's needed, right? So if I'm at work, I'm focused 100% at work. If I'm with my kids, I'm 100% with my kids. If I'm at the gym, and that's related to stress, gym is a stress relief for me. I go and do martial arts and I punch the bag. And after that, I'm like a brand new person.
Mm,
Sometimes I do it in the morning, sometimes in the evening after the day is done, right? To kind of relieve. But I manage stress in a way of delegating, empowering others to do things instead of me. I don't want to micromanage. If I can hire someone to do things equally like me or better, I hired him. I mean, I never got a degree, but now I have 2 degrees working for
mm,
me. So that's the thing. I don't have to have a degree to run a business, but I can have people who are more successful than me. So time management is never going to be a perfect balance, but we can integrate personal and business. Like my
mm,
kids know that today I was going to be 5 hours at the office and working on some projects here and there. But then from 6 to 8, I'm with my kids, and that's the block time. So the quality times is what matters, right? Because my kid's gonna remember that, and I have to have enough time to my people at work. So what's the priority? I mean, I learn from different great people, right? To prioritize. If I have 20 tasks today, which ones are the most important? Let's focus on those. Which one can wait for the next few days? So I have a list of tasks and working one at a time. How much time is going to need for each task? So I'm a very structured person, break down in different steps so that I can follow through. Like within that 1 hour, I don't want to write emails and respond to people. I should get my admin and my personal assistant to do that for me. Now we have AIs to do it on your behalf, anyways, right? But I want to focus where I excel. Right? If I'm building a new program, if I'm presenting, if I'm good as a speaker selling from the webinar, that's where I have to put more of my time because I'm adding more value. But me
right.
writing emails, I'm not adding any value. I'm just getting more tired, more stressed. So that's not the point. So once you
Mm,
identify what are you good at, you do more of that at your work or at home, right? If I don't like cooking, I would hire someone to cook a meal for my kids, or we would just go to the restaurant. But it's making the best of your time that you have, right? And really looking at the day every single day like you're starting from the beginning. Okay, waking up today, what do I have on my task to do it today? Prioritize one at a time. What's left, we're going to delegate, and then we're going to focus in the right way. And then becomes a process that
mm,
right? You have to block your time, separate. A lot of people make a mistake, and I notice that all the time. They get calls during the hours, and like they answer the calls and WhatsApps, and like they get distracted. Now it takes like 20 minutes to get back into the routine. Like what happened here? 3 hours later, they haven't started. So it doesn't work for me. I mean, you need to find what works for you, right? You want
right.
to wake up in the morning, go to the gym. I'm not really a morning person. I might go at the evening, but that's what works for me. So I operate more at night, where I'm more creative when I would finish something more than during the day. But that's me. So everybody has to find out what works for them at the end.
That makes a lot of sense, man. I'm really big on the deep work. That couple hours of focused, uninterrupted deep work. That's when you really do. To me personally, that's when I do my most, almost like my most powerful task, or in that, and it's usually 2 or 3 hours after I wake up. I'm not a morning person either. I'm not.
Yeah.
I usually do a cold plunge in the morning, and that helps me wake up. But if I don't do that thing, I did one this morning. But if I don't do that thing, man, I'm like, it takes me maybe 4 hours to wake up. But it's
Yeah.
like that, that time block, and then like you said, blocking out the times for emails, calls, all that. It definitely makes sense. One thing that I try to tell people is, we hear about like the average millionaire wakes up at 5 a.m. or whatever it is. I'm not the person to wake up at 5 a.m. It's like you said, you have to figure out what works for you. I mean, I might be up at 12 a.m., working on something, but I don't get up that early, man. If I did, I couldn't be consistent at it. I couldn't be productive. And I understand that the philosophy is there that you get a jump on the day, that you get a head start. But I feel like in my case, I can do the same thing the night before if I do that work later at night. I mean, so it's just about what works for you, how you can be consistent with it.
Mm.
Yeah. So, and you said you were talking about the gym for stress. What kind of martial arts do you do?
I do taekwondo, kickboxing, and I did a bit of a sistema. I'm also a stuntman. Funny enough, I do some stunts in
Okay.
movies. So,
Okay.
we'd always do a lot of like rolls and jumps with the weapons and swords and stuff. So, but kickboxing is the one that I do at the gym,
Okay.
punching and kicking the bag. And it's really good stress relief. Yeah.
Yeah, man, kickboxing is great. I train kickboxing, a little bit of Muay Thai is mixed in that. I've done jujitsu. I'm not, well, I've trained jujitsu. It's not like I've done jujitsu, more like had
Yeah.
jujitsu done to me, but, but I've trained jujitsu, man. Jujitsu is it's an incredible workout. It really is. It's like one of the best workouts you ever have.
Mm.
But it's crazy that you mentioned that, because you're doing all these things and making all these things happen, and then you're doing martial arts. I try to encourage, especially men, to practice martial arts, because not just because we need to know how to protect ourselves and others, but it's like martial arts, I feel like it really teaches you as a man how to take a loss. It's like
Mm.
it humbles you. And I think from all the things we're talking about right here, entrepreneurship, leaders, businesses, um, is you have to be able to take that loss and still be okay with that and learn from that. You can go out on the mat and you can spar with somebody, and this guy might be better than you. You can learn something from that experience. And I think it's not just the practical skill. I think it's being able to take that and apply it, like take that failure, that loss, so to speak, and apply it to life. I think it's incredible. It's an incredibly important skill for us as men to learn how to take that loss and be okay with it and move on. And I don't know anything that will teach you that like martial arts.
Mm. I agree. You know what? Now I'm thinking, I've been practicing since I was like 20 years, a kid, and over time, you just practice and you want to be better. You want to be better. You want to be faster and stronger. You want to do that kick and higher, higher. Somehow, you build that habit of being better. Your mindset is, I just want to
Yep.
be better. And then you learn yourself, you teach yourself about uh, consistency, discipline, going there, repeating the
Mm-hmm.
same thing over and over, same punch, same kick. And then 3, 4 years later, wow, actually, I'm faster, I'm stronger. Let's see how much more I can go, right? And then becomes just a journey, but without even realizing that mindset reflects in your own life. Then you
Mm-hmm.
become stronger dad, stronger businessman, want to be better, want to develop more, right? I think it's a necessary skill to develop, whatever martial arts that is. I mean, I happen to start with Taekwondo and later kickboxing and all these different things, but each one has a similar principles of go there and do stuff every single day or a couple times a week, right? To become better, stronger, teach yourself discipline, teach yourself commitment, teach yourself consistency and respect to others. Even if you lose, that's fine. Next time I'll get you, right? So it was a great thing. But a lot of people around the world, they don't do sports. They go to the gym, they work out themselves. They don't lose weight. What happened? Well, you don't push yourself. You haven't developed that thing of pushing yourself, getting better. So it's good to do it with someone. And then essentially down the line, what I realized, a lot of great entrepreneurs, business owners who done martial arts, they have a bit more resilience, a bit more
Yep.
courage and strength because they build themselves over time through that discipline, right? And then you can take anything you want to. I mean, it could be a simple way of, hey, let's run the marathon. I can only do 5 miles. I want to do 10 because I have to do 42 later on, right? 20, whatever. So I have to build myself. I created a habit. And now if I build myself to that level, then I can conquer the world because I prove myself that I can do it, right? It's increasing. Like we go to the gym, right? And every day we increase one more rep,
Yep.
and then like you become stronger. Your muscles are breaking, but you're getting stronger over time. You have to do
Mm-hmm.
that, but you build yourself without even realizing. Your mindset is getting stronger and your overall personality. You're just not the same person 5, 10, 15 years later. So I
Yeah.
admire people who are, especially the ones who are compete, right? I admire them because they're consistent, and that's a whole level of dedication, right? I'm so much better now. I'm not the same person, but I'm proud of myself because I went through that process.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. Those incremental improvements, those small improvements over time. I remember when I started working out at the gym, I could do like my max pull-ups that I could do 2 pull-ups. That's all I could do was 2.
Wow.
Now, 5 years later, I do 15 as part of my warm-up. So it's like
Mm.
those incremental improvements. And you mentioned the improvements in martial arts too. I think that's a crazy one because, well, even with the gym, it can be the gym, like you said, proving yourself to yourself, getting in there, making the progress. And
Yeah.
maybe you don't want to do it, maybe you're intimidated because these guys have been training longer than you, but you do it anyways. And I think that's where how we build self-confidence, proving ourselves to ourselves like that, doing the things that
Mm.
we're intimidated to do, or, we're not, not as educated as the other person, putting ourselves in spaces with like, people like you and people like you, I think you said you've been on stages with Tony Robbins and those guys.
Yeah.
It's just, being in that environment, man, I think it's really conducive to our personal growth as people. Um,
Mm.
and
It's the
I think,
habits, right? So if you ask yourself, who do I need to become? Who would I like to become 5 years from now? Who is Milan, uh, owner of multiple 8-figure businesses? Who is that person? How much more confidence? How much more skills? Who is in his network? How does he behave? How does he talk? Right? Is he a weak guy or is he much stronger? So how do I become that person? So we create our own habits. Your habits will determine your destiny. Like you got to go every day and do that gym. You got to go do the plunge. That's something that it's I don't like it, but I have to do it because it's good for me, right? I have to eat
Mhm.
healthy, so I want to be there for my kids. So we're building ourselves with these smaller steps every single day, and eventually, every single day, 30 days, you've done 30 steps ahead of most people. We're never going to do anything. So we're moving slowly, but we're moving. We're moving every single day slowly by building it so that we become better, right? Habits. We have to develop habits. Without habits, it's nothing. Like, I mean, we develop a habit 9 to 5 every single day. So why not develop a habit of cold plunge every single day, eating chicken and rice every single day, going to the gym every day, right? So because we know it's beneficial for our own health, but also for our mindset. Why don't we meditate every single day? A lot of people don't even know again that it's beneficial, right? Why don't we surround ourselves with more successful people every single day so they can stretch our mind and take us to the next level? But they wouldn't know because they're too comfortable. So that's why
Mm.
we as leaders in a way, we come and say, you know what? Learn from my story. And maybe there's something in my story is going to resonate with you that maybe tomorrow you want to go to the gym and that becomes your journey, your habits, and you become a better person because I say something today. So never know what's going to come out of it, but it's the journey that can inspire many, right? And change so many lives through that process. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, this has been an incredible conversation. I want to ask you about one thing before we close. Actually, 2 things, but one thing I think is really important, and I want to get your thoughts on this. The power of a network. Networking. So a person who's, maybe they've been in business a couple of years, maybe they're just starting out. How do you recommend a person build a network? Not necessarily in real estate, but just in a business setting. How does a person meet more people, and just network with other people, whether that's clients or people who might help their business in some kind of way.
Right. So that's a good one. I would identify people who might be good for you, right? So in any industry, where are these people? Where are they hanging out? How do I join them? Do I go to those clubs? Are they at the soccer games or are they somewhere else? Are they playing golf? Let me join those clubs so I can network and find people who are more successful than me so they can take me to the next level. Because if 9 of your friends are broke, you ended up being the 10th person. But if 9 of your
Right.
friends are multimillionaires, they stretch your mind, eventually you become one. So let's
Hmm.
find those people. Build your network. Your network will grow. It's necessary. You will never grow by yourself. You think you know, but you're not there as yet, so you don't know much. So find someone who knows better than you. It's a simple way. That's what helped me and a lot of people. The network will show you a different way. And again, they'll empower you.
Mm.
You're surrounded by multi-millionaires. You might be struggling, but they talk a whole different story. Hey, how about we buy this block of flats there somewhere? Like, how about we do this multi-million development? You're like, dang, I can barely survive today, but I'm willing to learn. And
Mm.
eventually you become one. Your mindset will change and you will change as a person. Yeah.
I like that, man. Where can you be found? Do you have social media, website, or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a couple of handles. You can find me Milan Milosevic Live. That's my main one. But also Millionaire Speakers on the Facebook, Instagram. That's for the speaking programs and everything what I teach there, but also on the real estate side, Riches and Beyond. It's our main website, richesandbeyond.com, and also on the Facebook. It's a massive page of 100,000 people. So I'm definitely going to promote this podcast there as well to get more awareness. So yeah.
Okay, for sure. So one thing that I usually ask everybody, and I know you probably got a bunch of things you can share. I usually ask you if you could share one of the most important lessons you've ever learned. It can be your career, if it's something from your personal life that you're comfortable sharing. What do you think is one of the most valuable lessons you've ever learned?
I think the most difficult for me was to accept the failure as a necessary step for growth. So it's
Mm,
going to happen. It's inevitable. You'll fail many times, and it's a good thing, because if you don't fail, you'll never grow. So
mm.
embrace the failure, learn from it, become a better person, pick yourself up, but never give up on that journey, because another high will happen, but another failure will happen as well. So just keep moving through it, learn from the failure, and you will get there eventually. So yeah.
I love that. I feel that. I feel like failure is part of the process. You know, if you're not,
Mm,
if you're trying to do something and you're not failing initially, I
yep.
don't know that you're trying hard enough. You know, you
Yep.
hear that if the goal doesn't scare you, the goal's not big enough. You know,
100%. Agree with that. 100%. Yeah.
listen, man, I'm gonna let you get out of here. It's been a great conversation. If
Mm,
you can hang out for just a second, I'll explain to you how we upload this thing and all that good stuff. But
mhm.
yeah, definitely appreciate your time and insight here today.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to another one, and all the best to you and your viewers, yeah, listeners.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Hey guys, I appreciate you tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, you can find more content at Pure Wisdom Podcast. This is on Facebook, Instagram, Rumble, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple and Google Podcasts. There you can like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time.